are we doomed to a world where the popularity of a story and its value to advertisers determines what gets published and what investigative journalism gets done?
You've read a lot of John Kenneth Galbraith, it seems. The advertising is always going to follow content, and I think the quality content is always going to be better for the user and for the advertiser. So that, and what is quality content? I mean, I have a quote from Herb Allen here later, but it's really going to be, what becomes something that's informative or entertaining or whatever. And I don't think that the ad becomes something that doesn't. We can get away from this kind of the ad always jumping in and being like, "Hey kids, buy sugar." It can more be like, "Hey, I get an email from Stop and Shop that just tells me that the things that I usually buy. Here's the things that are on sale this week, and it comes once a week, and I expect it, and it's informative to me." And kind of getting more into that kind of model, like conceptually. So that I do think that this is also the movement that has to occur, which is interrupt over to informative. And it does sound a little bit, altruistic, maybe in a weird way, but
no. It's the PBS model that becomes much on the internet, not to the PBS model. This incredible investigative reporting that is really not for everybody, but for special people like you, is not underwritten but supported by American Express, because American Express wants to reach this market in a sort of institutional way to support and help energize its other impressions out there of advertising.
It's interesting you bring that up because
I'll believe it when I see it.
It's
well, so I used to work at the Charlie Rose show, and that's kind of an example of where you've got, the impressions are much below Larry King, but the value of an advertiser in a certain area is going to be, if you want to reach kind of high-level decision makers in industry, I think I would rather try and support Charlie Rose's PBS-funded program or Frontline than I would Larry King and Dateline, and that's kind of another model that I'm talking about.
One point of information just to put out there in my what I know about this is very dated, and you probably know updated information. But several years ago, when Dan Lyons was still writing for Forbes, I believe it was, he's now at Newsweek, he said that as Forbes started tracking impressions on articles and forwarding and most emails, the reporters were then starting to get compensated on how popular they were. So as you're looking, or as publishers start to move to a performance-based model, there's got to be a way that they can use that information, put it through the analytics. I know this reporter is, these stories are generating this, and I'm paying him more based on this. How do I then in turn target the right people that'll give me revenue for that information, or for, not necessarily advertising, but how do I tie in that? So just, and again, this was a few years ago. You probably have more updates.
Yeah, I want to try to.
Yeah, we're actually running out of time, so
I just wanted to show quickly, this is a model what you would get today. What happened in this case study was that that's a report from the ad network coming out of Boston.com, not the Boston Globe. What happened was the impression number, if you looked in Google Analytics and then also in our system in this case, the actual number of visits coming was about 250, not 1,000 as reported. So that made the chairman of this certain company upset. But I said, hey, don't worry about it, you're not paying cost per click. But I got to question the impression number now. But I then worked it into cost per visitor, and essentially what happens is that when you start to look at cost per visitor, yes, the Globe traffic in this case was about 2 times over the Google, but it's a market share game, and we pretty much had a lot of the Google coverage. So the next apple was on the tree was to go over to the Globe, and then also we were able to show performance was was equal, and also an analysis of the geography of where these people came from showed that, hey, there's a lot of people coming from France. Europe was a target market for this case. So it's by using these analytics that we were able to actually sell more Boston.com advertising. So this has been kind of a recap of everything we've been saying, and so I wanted to kind of jump ahead of, like, let's say that, you know, I think publishers should start to online at least produce more pages or small campaigns. You know, a publisher is a producer of pages, whether it's digital or online. So let's just say that this is kind of Wall Street. Let's say it's the Wall Street Journal and they're doing travel section. So by putting in quick things like booking and a phone call, and then seeing that, you know, which is more popular, Austin, San Antonio, or Houston, based on page views. You could change the hotel down at the bottom of one of three. To get a very simple, this is kind of a quick shot of our system, but to get just a very simple report that shows you calls and also, you know, the other things that happened on that page. And I think an important thing that comes here, and this is something that in my meeting with one of the publishers yesterday, was, you know, they happen to be unique in a position where their print sales and their digital sales are doing just fine on a CPM model. So he is not really wanting to jump into the kind of lead generation game. He has a unique position because of his brand. However, what he sees is that I can go after TV because of the time and the durations of things, because you know, the price per second spent with my advertisers here could be much, much more profitable. And I think that's a very interesting future for digital publications, as people, you know, as we go, I'll skip this for now, but here's an example of how time impacts sales. So these are three totally different types of companies, and what you can see is on the right side in the middle, you have, up the top number is average time on site. So in the retail sporting goods, it's 3 minutes, and then for somebody who goes to the store locator page, it's almost double. You see that again in a retail website for luxury condos, where you've got 3 on average, but 12 minutes for somebody who fills out, you know, when you start to see an analysis, that's because people are looking at images and things like that, so you start to see what's influencing them to stay. On the bottom is a corporate real estate company. You see kind of the same thing. And then you see a small time for email sent to partner. And the reason for that, when you looked into it, was that people were emailing the partner names and finding and getting to their partner page and then just emailing them. So it kind of showed that this idea that, which I think is very true if there's any service-oriented companies here, like law firms and private equity or anything like that, your partner pages are your yellow pages, and they're very important, and almost sometimes that the toto of everybody's name in the firm generates more traffic than your firm name in some cases that I've seen, which I think is interesting. People first. But I think this is, so Herb Allen of Allen Company, I don't know if everyone's familiar with Allen Company, but they're boutique investment bank and media. And I think that this is kind of my conclusion on media, is that it is a communication of time spent and trying to figure out where that is and how that happens. And I think that also you can, you know, getting analytics also to real time so that decisions can be made much faster. So that you can be walking into a sales meeting and see on your mobile device a certain event. You get an alert that something happened in one of your digital media messages. You know, to know that the person that you're about to meet with just downloaded a white paper, just saw this certain page on your website or so forth, so that you know how to adjust your message. And I think that it's definitely within the realm of possibility, and I think it's something to consider. So. That's the end. I know we kind of did a sprint to the end, but that's usually how you